10x your service design offering with Smaply. Take 20% off any order with This Is HCD 20 off. Let's superpower you and your design team's potential. Sign up at smaply.app. Enjoy the episode from your friends at Smaply, helping support This Is HCD podcast.
Hello and welcome to Getting Started in Design, a theme series of the This Is HCD podcast. Our goal is to bring stories and insights from real people about the culture, challenges, and opportunities for new and transitioning designers in the field. I am your guest host, Ben Maclaren, Strategic Designer and Customer Success Manager at thisisdoing.com, home to many of the world's best design and changemaker courses online. I am based, as you can probably tell, in Australia. I really wanted to host a few episodes of the Getting Started series, as I believe that sharing stories on what it's like moving into the design field is crucial to identifying and removing barriers, growing and reflecting on our own practice, and supporting other designers. In a few episodes, we may talk about the personal experiences and barriers from the perspectives of gender, ethnicity, or age. Whether you're transitioning into design, a design student, mentoring new designers, or teaching the next generation, we all play a part in supporting ourselves and those around us to grow and learn. Now, today on the show, we have Natalia Alessi, a visual and service designer based in Australia who works as a design lead at the University of Melbourne. We speak about how Natalia got into design, her experience as a second English speaker, how she transitioned from another field into design as a career, and her perspectives from teaching and observing new design students. I had the privilege of talking to Natalia, who has been amazing in sharing her story. Now, let's get on with the show.
So I am Natalia. I am a designer. Design is a broad term. So what I do in design is I do visual design, and I also do service design, mainly those two, and I do some illustration as well. I work in education. I've been working doing design in education for some years now, and I'm currently at the University of Melbourne working as a design lead as part of the operations group. So basically it's helping staff and different teams across the organization to improve services using digital platforms.
So how did you get into the design as field? You mentioned you were studying. Is that how you first learnt about it? What was how did you discover something called design and find your way in there?
Yeah, it's a good question. So it was, I actually did my master's in communication design, and that I guess it's how I got my foot into design. And yeah, it was basically a career change. I did my degree in communication and worked for some years in doing advertising. This is back in my early 20s. And then I guess I had kind of a crisis in that I was not feeling that was enough, or that I wanted to continue working as a career in that field. And I actually always thought, or I always liked to do things with my hands since I was a kid. So that was something that I guess it was on the back of my mind always. So yeah, when the right time came, I decided to come to Australia actually and do a master's in design, but also having that experience of living abroad and learning in another language and learning English as well at the same time. So my master's was in Australia. I did the Masters of Communication Design at RMIT in Melbourne, but my degree was back home. I'm originally from Argentina, and that's where, that's where I was before coming to Australia.
Was there any barriers for you, or what was it like being kind of coming across from abroad, from a place like Argentina? Was there any differences, or was there anything, whether it be culturally, linguistically?
Oh, all together. Yeah, for sure. There is a lot of differences, and then there is also things that are sort of quite familiar. Um, I I guess, yeah, like the first one is the language one, where if you are familiar to speak in a language, then sort of making your brain to think in another language and also absorb information and, you know, perform as a student. That was definitely something that it was different to when I did my degree, but also, I guess, yeah, also somehow a challenge. Yeah. And then definitely culturally as well, there are differences in every country, and that's something that I guess after 10 years of living here, I still find differences, or you know, things you learn every day, because because things are basically different too.
What are some of the, I guess, the biggest challenges that you've seen in those differences? Are there any that you've consistently encountered, or were there any that were like a really big?
Yes, for sure. For example, to give an example of this one challenge that I had when I finished my master's and I was trying to get a job into the field. It took me a long time, and I wish at that time I had some mentors or support that could help me, because I could sort of create a portfolio that was aligned to what I understood from my home time, how you should be doing a portfolio, how you should present yourself in an interview, where the things that you should be saying, your attitude, and so on. That was something that was very difficult for me, and that it took me a while to realize that, you know, not being successful on interviews or in the way I would approach companies or agencies to, you know, to introduce myself, etc., that the way to do it, there are codes that is not something that people would tell you, but definitely exist, and that they're quite different in every country. So that was one definitely a challenge I had in terms of, like, you know, being in another country, that it was not my
What's the difference, I guess, between like how you would interview or present yourself in Argentina versus how maybe either in Australia or in that other sort of context?
So for example, back home, your resume would be one page, and the reason why your resume would be one page is because the person that would be looking at your CV, it's obviously looking at many, so they want to quickly see why they should hire you, or why they should, like, you know, why you stand up. And at the beginning, I was doing that in here. So I was not including a lot of information, because in my mind, it was that, well, what I have to include is these key things that I have done. Then along the way, I realized that that was not seen okay here in Australia, because what later I learned is that in Australia, they want to see how did you went from A to B. So they want to see exactly everything that you have done. It does not really matter. It's not so important that it has to be in one page. You can do 2-3 pages in here, even 4 in some cases, depending on what you're applying for, could be fine. So that's one thing that was different. And I think it varies in different countries. I was talking with someone in the US, and they were telling me, oh, no, here in the US, you would only include one page. Like, more is like just too much to read. So that's one. Then in relation to your attitude in an interview, so for example, back home, if you show yourself, or if you demonstrate a lot of passion when you talk about your practice, it seems at something really good. It's like, oh, this person is really committed to the practice, and for sure it's gonna be, you know, someone that we can rely on, and that we can trust that it's gonna sort of do the best. Whereas I found in here that can be seen sometimes as someone emotional, and maybe that it's seen not as good, because if you are working, maybe it's not so professional, sort of, to bring so much your emotions into your workplace. So these are only some examples.
So is English your first language?
That's nice from you. No, obviously not. And I'm saying obviously not because I'm aware that I have an accent. So my native language is Spanish.
When you talk about design, do you normally talk about it in English, or are you able to have those conversations in Spanish?
It's a really good question. You know what? Because I feel that because sort of my designer life has been pretty much in English. And what I mean is I study design in English, and then I got into the field in English. And since I never sort of had a job in Spanish that would be design. Well, I had a few collaborations though. But what I was meaning to say is that it's a challenge to speak about design in Spanish more than it is in English. What really this means is that practice is everything, right? Whatever you practice is whatever you would feel comfortable with. And I guess because my practice of design has been pretty much always in English, it's what I feel more comfortable to do. I'm still learning. And I think somehow that put me down, or that, for example, it took me a long time to be confident on an interview, or I don't know. Some years ago, I would not do what we are doing now. It would be extremely terrifying, because it would be, it's basically because we usually don't feel comfortable in what we don't know, or what it's a challenge. And I guess as well, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I would be, in Spanish, that would be so much easier for me to explain. So the first years definitely was that sort of self-confidence that I had to build, or accept that, this is my second language, but I still can communicate, and even if it's not perfect, it's okay. So that took me some years for sure.
What are some of the things that either you yourself found or you wish you had that would help people who either haven't maybe English as a second language, or they come from a different culture or a different area, that would have been really something that would have helped lower those barriers, or at least help that process?
Yeah. So what I could say, or what I wish I had, or what I could suggest to someone is having a mentor, basically. And what I mean by this is that there are many things that goes to do with working, or sort of having a career in design. And I think that maybe this goes beyond design and to anyone. I think there are certain things that you learn at university if you go to university to study, and there are certain things that you would learn if you are a practitioner as you go at work. But there are things that there is always support that you would need. There is always could be challenges that you are facing, and maybe my challenges are not the same as yours. Maybe for you it's very easy to speak in front of others, but maybe, I don't know, maybe you are not so good at something that I find easy to do. So having a mentor, I think it's I recommend it a lot. I think it's very beneficial both for both parties, and usually, it's a space that you can find that is not your class space, or it's not your work space, but someone that you have somehow a connection with. It could be someone you admire and you can reach out, or it could be someone you work in the past and know yourself well, that can help you along the way and can advise you with the uniqueness of you, if that makes sense.
There's been times where I've looked back and realized that I've had mentors, but maybe I haven't called them mentors, that it's not necessarily as formal as a role as some people often think it is. That almost anyone can be your mentor, and that it's more of finding the right person who knows you, who believes in you, and is willing to give you some of their time, preferably regularly, It doesn't even need to be like, hey, will you be my mentor? It's like, hey, can I let you know what I'm doing? Can you give me some feedback? Can you give me some advice on what I'm doing? Like that's an amazing start right there.
Yeah, for sure. And you're right. Sometimes we have mentors and we are not even aware. And I think for me, like maybe making more conscious that idea, okay, I need and I value someone that can help me in this need that I identify as something that I would like to improve, or something that I don't know I need to work on, etc. I think that sort of self-awareness is also very important as a designers, and then what we do with that, right? Well, and I think that's where a mentor comes into hand, and yeah, mentors could be about your practice, but they also could be life mentors. I had someone that suggests me, oh, maybe doing meditation could help you, and it helped me in my life. It was not someone that was sort of in this formal setting, you are my mentor and today I'm going to ask you questions, but sometimes also having someone that it's really good at what you do and it's in another level of maturity, and creating that space where you can I don't know, have whatever 1 hour a month conversation, and that continuity, you can see progress. And I think that's another thing that is very beautiful about having a mentor, that or the benefits. I've been a mentor and a mentee, and like when I'm a mentee and I can see a progress of someone, is so satisfying. It's really nice to see.
That's great. I think the power of having a mentor, you don't always see it immediately, but like when they say something, you're like, that's exactly it. That's exactly what I was trying to figure out. And that can be such a pivotal moment in your career sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I have a few questions. And one of them is something I was really interested in. I really wanted to hear what you thought, even if there is nothing, or if it's a bit uncomfortable, feel free to skip past it. But I was wondering, obviously I am a white man, obviously, and that comes with a certain degree of privilege that comes with that. From an ethnicity like standpoint, or your gender and your ethnicity, what was your experience in design? Were there some barriers?
I really like your questions and sort of talking and sharing our experiences around that. I don't know if I would say that I experienced racism. I definitely had felt some judgment or biases sometimes in relation that, and I felt it was to do with I was a woman, and that that English is my second language. I'm talking about work settings, and then I also had the opposite experience. Teams or people that were extremely welcoming and embracing the fact that I was different. Not highlighting I was different, but more again embracing and trying to create teams that were very different in terms of ethnicity, but also like careers as well. Like, so I also had really good experiences with that. But one thing that sometimes I mention, because I always find quite interesting, is that, I think that sometimes we do things without even noticing. And I remember when I first came here and I was doing my master's, one thing that surprised me, I arrived like really naive with this idea that, studying in a different country, I'm going to make a lot of friends and they all going to speak English and they're going to be from Australia. So I'm going to get to make Australian friends. And when I arrived, what I realized is that no one that was Australian was not willing to speak with me, but that they would prefer to speak with other people that would speak English rather than with me. And then when we had to do group assignments, I would always kind of be left, I would be the one that no one wants to be with. But what it was very funny is that so in the classroom context, it was this dynamic. But then on the weekends that I would go out with friends or I would be invited to a house party, whatever, the fact that I was a woman and I was speaking a second language suddenly in another setting becomes super attractive. So everybody would want to speak with me because I had an accent and I was different. But in a more formal setting like university, it would not be cool to speak with me or to engage with me. And I think because I work in universities and sort of familiar with the classroom settings, I think usually in classrooms we tend to connect or to relate to what is similar to us. So I think in there is still work that we as designers can do, I think, to narrow those bridges that exist. Because I don't think those things happen because people are racist. I think it's more that we don't have enough tools to know how to sort of navigate the discomfort or speaking with someone that is different to you, or that you don't know what to ask, or that you kind of don't know much about it. And I understand that can be overwhelming or challenging. And I think that goes also for international students as well here in Australia. I'm quite an extrovert, and so somehow that was not a big challenge. It was a little bit, but I do see many international students, even when I teach or when I was studying, that struggles lots with sort of engaging in a conversation, and that is also translated then when they try to find jobs. But I think there is still somehow like tensions that we that I think we can work together to get better at it.
I really appreciate you sharing those personal elements and your perspective on that. I'm very new to having these types of discussions, but I find it enlightening and also really just amazing to hear from people like you and other people. I feel like it breaks me out of my own experience that often is quite siloed. I came from a very small, well, not very small, but a very traditional area up in Queensland. And I remember I had never really seen, I think our school had one person who wasn't like your stereotypical Australian, like someone from that whose ancestry came from ethnicity. And I think we had one, and that was and the dynamic back then was definitely not the healthiest. But I remember breaking out of that space and kind of being exposed to the incredible and diverse people that seem to be all over Australia, which is amazing, and people like yourself. So I really appreciate you being open with that and sharing.
Oh no, I'm glad, and I think that's another beautiful thing about it, that I love about these countries, that it gives me the opportunity to really mix myself with all different people from all different places with all different stories, and it's beautiful because I think definitely that makes me better. Like I found that interactions and seeing, like, listening stories of others and how different life can be for, like, different people. I don't know. I found that very inspiring because also then you also find that there are many things that even we can be very different, but there are many things that are pretty similar and that we all can relate.
You mentioned, so slightly differently, you mentioned you deal a lot with teaching students about design. What are some, and given kind of all the stuff we've talked about, are there any common challenges or patterns that you've kind of seen that maybe happens a lot across those new or those learning designers or people who are getting started in design?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge I see, and also like from my practice on service design with the students, I know like there is some evidence on that this is a common challenge students in Australia, both locals and international, face is transitioning to an industry. So there is a gap between, all right, I'm a graduate and I finish my degree, to, all right, I have a job, I have a secure job, I have a practice. I think that is still a big challenge. So I think, I don't know exactly this year, but I remember in 2020, like the evidence was something like 2 years, that the average people take about 2 years to finding a job in their field after they graduate. Maybe that has changed. Now I know in our field, like it's design, it's on demand, and maybe that has changed a little bit. But I think that's a big challenge. And I think also it comes with a lot of frustration because it's not what students expect that it will happen today when they finish. So in the last year, they are super excited with portfolios and they start to feel confident in doing design. They find a wall sort of that is difficult to break when they want or when they try to find jobs.
How would you bridge some of that gap, especially the first one? You said they sometimes face a wall. Would you have any recommendations that you've seen that works well?
Yeah, find a mentor. I promise that most of my questions could be find a mentor today. It's like my mantra of the day. What I mean by find a mentor is, I think, and you're gonna learn that, but you are not gonna learn how to find a job. And in the same way that I was saying at the beginning that I had to navigate these differences when I did my career change here in Australia, I think the same problem it's faced for students when it's the first time that they are gonna create a folio and search for jobs and understand which ones they can apply and which ones they don't. The other one is that, as we were saying before, design today, it's so many things that I think it's also overwhelming for students when they finish their degrees, that you are still a baby in your field, so you still don't know exactly what you really like about design. That is a bubble that has so many colors and so many different things. And I think that it also is difficult to find a job because you still don't know exactly which roles you can do, which roles you want to do, how those roles could help you to build your career. And so I think these are very difficult things to do in your own as a graduate. So I think, again, finding a mentor, for example, to find a job, it's something that I definitely recommend. So I think, it's also about being curious about how you can improve, or what are the things that you need to know to get into the industry or to be successful on an interview. I think what helped me, now looking back and thinking how it happened. So so one is persistence. Don't think that because you haven't been successful, that doesn't equals you are not good. That equals either that you were not a fit in that, or there are things about how you are presenting that can be improved. So that's one, like having that persistence. So that's one. I think another thing that it took me a bit, but I finally understood that, and it was good, is not comparing myself with others. So it was very common at the beginning for me to think, oh, of course I'm not gonna get a job because English is my second language, or of course I'm not gonna get a job. That person that is in the classroom with me illustrates so much better and so much faster than me. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that happens. But that doesn't mean that you still cannot get a job. Or that doesn't mean that it's not out there, that's someone that could see your value, no matter that English is your second language.
Something that I've encountered in it, I feel like it's been a theme of advice that I've always given to friends who are new to any field, that there are more than one ways to get to a goal. And if your goal is to be a particular kind of person or a particular kind of designer, and you find that one of your roads has been blocked or a door has been closed, that's just, you now know that you can take a different path there. You can find that next step that you need to get to where you're trying to head, or that next step that will get you better than you were yesterday.
That also happened with my illustration practice. I never been good at drawing, and I never liked drawing. I love design, but drawing was not my thing. And at some point in one role I was doing some years ago, I was asked to start illustrating things. This start with icons, and then it transferred. Oh, I like your handwriting. Maybe you can start drawing. And I was like, no, I don't want to do it. I'm bad at this. I cannot do this. I cannot do this. And my manager at that time, which was an inspiring person to me, was pushing me a lot. And today I can say that I'm an illustrator. And that started from a need that a team had, that I was going to do something that I didn't want to do. But it was part of my role. I was the visual designer in that team. So if they ask me to draw, I have to draw. And I found something very special at the end with that. And it's something that today is part of my practice and something I feel proud of. I now regret, and I don't beat myself anymore, but I regret that it was moments in my life that I didn't have that openness or that understanding to know that maybe opportunities don't have exactly the shape or the name that you put on that goal list, but it's still an opportunity, and you don't know where it's going to take you, and maybe it takes you to a better place than what you had in mind.
So there you have it. That's all for this episode. If you like this episode, feel free to visit thisishcd.com, where you can access our back catalogue of over 100 episodes, with episodes related to service design, product management, design research, and much, much more. Now, if you're interested in design and innovation training, feel free to check out our business, thisisdoing.com, where you can join online classrooms and learn from the world's best design and innovation leaders. Join the This Is HCD newsletter, where you'll receive updates from the network, and also, if you're interested, apply to join the Slack community on thisishcd.com. Stay safe, and until next time, take care.